Hey, welcome to Keight Krafts. I'm Kate. Today I would like to share with you my make for Scrap and Stamp's Sunshine and Rainbows Inspiration Hop. Let's get started. So to kick things off, I have my card base that I have used the scalloped rectangle stackables, and now I am taking the circle stencil from the Nighttime Sky stencil as well as the stitched thought bubble, and I'm kind of giving myself an eyeball of where everything needs to go. So once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to take some of this low-tack tape and we are going to tape down our little panel here. So once I've got that done, I'm going to use the panel that I cut with the thought bubble and I'm going to eyeball roughly where I need to be cutting out with this Ever After rainbow pack paper. And this is the 12 by 12 and I just really love this pattern paper. So here you can see I've got myself another little panel to rest in behind there, and all I have to do is line everything up and glue it down. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to make sure our glue bottle works, and we are going to go ahead and give that a little bit of glue along the edge. That way it will adhere to our panel. So here I'm just going to add a little bit to our colorful card panel here to make sure that everything gets enough glue where it needs to be. And then I'll go ahead and flip that over and figure out where all of this needs to line up. So it looks like one cohesive piece of paper, so to speak. So once I'm happy with that, I'll give that a good mash down. And then we are going to take the little bit that we had cut out from the white cardstock, and we are going to use the Nighttime Sky stencil circle with some of the squeezed lemonade to create a little bit of a sun. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going around creating a little bit of a glow around this moon stencil. And I think this moon stencil is pretty neat because you could use it for a moon or you could use it for a sun, which we are doing right now. And while I'm ink blending, I probably should tell you a little bit about today's hop. So today I'm sharing with you my make for Scrap and Stamp's Sunshine and Rainbows Inspiration Hop. Each stop along the way will show you a new design to inspire you. As always, we will be giving away a $50 gift certificate to one lucky person who leaves a comment at each of the stops along the way. Every stop is another chance to win, so please share the love with each of the talented makers in today's hop. The winner will be announced on the Scrap and Stamp blog at the end of the month. So if you want a list of everybody who's in the hop, I'll make sure to leave it in the description box below. So as you can see here, I've gone over everything I need to be, and then we are going over with a little light of a dusting with the other color. And then off camera, I have gone ahead and I have cut with a banner die a little extra to put onto my sentiment. So that way the sentiment doesn't flop down and it lies flush. So I didn't make an entire sentiment, I just cut a little bit off, and then that way it's got a nice flush area to adhere to, because you've got a little bit of extra with the panel that's sitting on top of the rainbow. So there we have the sentiment, and we're all glued down. Make sure that everything's nice and mashed down tight. And then we are going to add a bunch of flat back rhinestones. Now you can add any kind of rhinestones you want. When I made this card, it was a while ago, and I accidentally spilt water all over my laptop and ended up having to get my laptop serviced. Luckily, I was able to save this video, but alas, I forget what kind of rhinestones I used for this particular project. So any small rhinestones that you have that would go nicely with the rainbow colored paper in the background, you could make yourself a little starburst or sunburst with it, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I really love how this card turned out, and I'd actually had two ideas for this card challenge or this hop, and I wasn't sure which one I loved more. And thankfully, I had both of them recorded. So I was able to save those while I sent my laptop off to be serviced. And now that I have my laptop back, I'm able to continue on with my YouTube work, which is why we're here today. So we're just tidying up the last little bits of these rhinestones, and then we are going to just move that one down just a smidge, that one up, and then we are going to glue it onto our card base. So we're going to go ahead with our liquid glue. We are going to go around the edges here to make sure that there won't be any lifting from the card itself. Squiggle a whole bunch more, and then I'm just going to line that up as best as I can. Now this doesn't completely cover the card panel, so you'll get that little bit of white poking through, but I just want to make sure that it looks even enough and nice, and then we'll give that a good mash down. But once we've given this a good mash down, and I've held down the corners to keep them from popping up, here you have my finished card. I really hope that you... Wait, don't go anywhere. I liked making this card so much that I ended up making a second card for the Rainbows and Sunshine. I was just so tickled by both of these, and I just had to share both of them with you. So what I've done off camera is I've gone ahead and used the stitched thought bubbles frame, and I've added in a window of acetate, and then I've gone ahead around the edges here with some double-sided tape, and off camera I've cut this out a couple of more times because we are going to make an adorable little shaker card. So all I'm doing here is I'm just taking some liquid glue and I'm going around the edges so we've got a double stick and that this is not going to go anywhere or peel up. So I'm going to very carefully cut out some of the acetate so it's not poking out. And then I'm going to line everything up, and then we are going to give everybody a good mash down, and then we'll go ahead and set that off to the side. So what I've done here is I had another cutout that I'm just using as an idea of where I need to be. And we are going to take, again, the nighttime sky stencil, the moon, and we are going to make a sun out of it. So again, I'm going in with some of this squeezed lemonade, and we are just going to create a bit of a halo effect. Now, I found this a little bit finicky, trying to get it all lined up and around, and I kept shifting the stencil, but, that's okay. It'll be fine in the end, which I found out to be alright. I always get nervous whenever the stencil shifts around because I don't get that perfect blend that I so desperately need, but have learned to be okay with it because it's a card, and cards have mistakes in it. So again, we are just going to go back into that center with some mustard seed like we did before, and darken that up a little bit in the center, and then we're going to come in with some of this dried marigold. Now, my dried marigold is a little bit dry, and at the time of this voiceover, I have since gotten myself a re-inker. If you're looking for re-inkers, feel free to go ahead over to the Scrap and Stamp website. They have plenty of re-inkers there. I can make sure to leave a link in the description box below where to find them. But yeah, so we've got some squeezed lemonade, some dried marigold, and some mustard seed, and we're just going to create a bit of a gradient for the sun. And then I'm going to go back over again with some of that squeezed lemonade just to draw it out a little bit because I wasn't quite happy with how much ink I had on my paper. So once we're done that, you can kind of see the sun there, which I think turned out pretty neat. So again, we have already cut out our stitched thought bubble frames, and we are just going to add a little bit of glue around this, and then we're going to stack everybody up together like so, and then we'll go ahead and give that a good mash down, making sure that everybody's lined up. And then once we're happy with that and it's had time to dry, we will add some more glue to the little frames that we have glued together. So again, I'm making sure that they've got some time to sit for the glue to dry so it's not all gloppy and messy or gloopy and messy or sliding around. But this glue is pretty decent for getting things stuck, which I really appreciate. So once we have the amount of glue we want on there, we are just going to take that, line that up into the corner, and then we are going to give that a good mash down. So once I'm happy with that, we are going to take the center cutout, which I've used the Ever After rainbow paper, and we are going to glue that into the center of the cloud, which I thought, well, it's actually a thought bubble, but we're using this as a cloud like we did in the other card. So once I'm happy with that, we are going to go ahead and add some flat sequins. And these are some iridescent sequins. You can use any kind of flat back sequins, or flat sequins that you want, because you're looking at probably about 210-pound card stock in thickness that I've glued here. Maybe three. I think it's 3. Yes, forgive me. It's been a minute since I made this card, and I'm trying to draw from my ever foggy memory of what I was doing here. So we've taken the window that we've made and we've just glued that on top so that you've got this adorable little shaker with these iridescent shaker bits. And I think iridescent shaker bits look really great with this Lawn Fawn Ever After paper. So now we have gone ahead and done the same with the frame. We're just stacking it up. This does not get a window. This just gets a couple of stacks put together. I can't remember right off the top of my head how many stacks we have, but we're going to see soon in a minute. So this is number 3. I think I was trying to do this to level everything out on the card. So once we've got, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we've got a couple more we've got going on here. So I'm going to add in some more of my glue, and we are going to glue all that back together. So we're going to come in with the Barely Arts glue. We're just going to go around that little stitch there, just a little string of a bead. You don't need to oversaturate this with glue because this is such a thin area that you're working with. So once we've got that, I'm going to try and figure out how I want to put everything together. So I'm going to put my card panel on top of the frame and then just use a pen or a Sharpie or a pencil, whatever you got, and mark out where those clouds are going to be. Now, I probably could have figured out how to do this a little bit better, but we are winging it at this point. So we are going to cut those little bits out, and then that way this will fit around that cloud. And I have to fiddle with it a little bit because I believe it was the outside in stitched rectangle die that I used to cut my panel. So this is a little bit slightly bigger than what I'm going to need. So again, I'm going to use that little bit that I cut out, and I'm going to cut around where I'm going to have the puffs of the clouds, or the ridges of the clouds. I don't know what you would call those. So I'm just going to sit there and add a little bit of glue around our frame here. And what I plan on doing is I'm going to build a layer over top of this. So that way this kind of covers up all of my cut pieces, but lies flat on top of our little cloud thought bubble frame here. So again, I'm taking that little bit that I cut and I'm trimming it down just to make sure that I have enough room to get the ridges of the cloud inside the frame. Now, I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this, but I think I was just really winging it at this point when I was building this card. So you can kind of see here, I've got the frame that I can just add a little bit of glue around the edge of the outside in stitched rectangle die that I've cut here. This way it ensures that I have a lip that I can adhere our frame to, because if you're using the frame in the outside in stitched rectangles, the outside in stitched rectangles is slightly smaller than the frame. So I believe the outside in stitched largest one is 4 by 5.25, and the frame measures 4.25 by 5.5 on the outermost edge, and just barely fits to the 4 and 5.25 stitched rectangle, if that makes sense. So again, I have Sending Sunshine and Smiles, another sentiment that I'd stamped out double of, and we are going to use a little bit of foam tape in the center there just to kind of keep everything level. And that was the whole point of a lot of this, was keeping everything level. Now, I don't know what it would look like if you didn't keep everything level, but I was being a little bit picky with how I was putting things together for this one. So we're going to add a little bit of double-sided tape from the tape runner here, and we are going to add a little bit of glue just in case I need to lift this up and I've made a mistake. So I'll go ahead and flip that over, line that up as best as I possibly can, and double sticking this to acetate Just creates a little bit more adhesion, and that way we don't have to necessarily wait for the glue to dry. So once I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and take some sharp scissors and cut that edge off. And then again, with the iridescent flat sequins that I have here, we are going to create some more sunbursts, so to speak. So kind of like how I did in the last video, the last card that I just did, I used some flat back rhinestones that were very small, and then I thought I would just take these flat sequins that I used inside the shaker and add them to the outside. So again, we're going to add some double stick to our card panel and our card base. I'm going to go all willy-nilly with the glue because I want to make sure that we've got a solid adhesion to this card, because this card's got a little bit of bulk to it. So I'll go ahead and I will line everybody up as best as I can to each corner. Give that a good mash down, and here you have my finished card. Let me know in the comments which one you liked better. If you liked the first one, or if you liked the second one, or you can't decide, much like myself. And here you have both of my finished cards. Let me know in the comments below which one you liked best. I know I can't decide, but maybe you can, and that'll enter you in for a $50 gift certificate for Scrap and Stamp. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.